If Nietzsche lived today, he wouldn't be stuck in DMs. He wouldn't be asking why she hasn't replied. He wouldn't be refreshing her stories to decode mixed signals. He'd be silent, sharp, unshaken, not because he didn't care, but because he saw beneath the surface of human behavior, especially between man and woman. And what he saw was war. Most men today are playing a game they don't even know exists. They think love is pure, emotions are honest, attention means connection. But Nietzsche pulled back the curtain and found power, leverage and control disguised as romance. Modern dating is less about love and more about dominance of the frame. It's about who reacts and who doesn't, who bends and who breaks. This video isn't for the emotional. It's for the man who's tired of being manipulated, misunderstood, and discarded. It's for the one ready to rise, not by hating women, but by outgrowing the illusions that enslave him. These are Nietzsche's 20 rules for emotional warfare. Learn them, live them, or be ruled by those who already do. Rule number 1, he who needs nothing holds all the power. Need is the silent killer of masculinity. When you crave her validation, you're no longer a man, you're a servant to her attention span. She knows when you're desperate, she feels it in your texts, your tone, your hesitation. And the moment she senses you're trying to earn her approval, the power flips. Nietzsche believed true power begins the moment you stop needing it from anyone, especially from women. When she realizes you're whole without her, that her affection is a bonus, not a lifeline, she becomes the one wondering, why doesn't he chase me? Why is he so calm? Why does he feel like the prize? Because you are. The man who needs nothing is the one she can't control. And that's the man she'll never forget. Rule number 2, never argue emotionally. Stay above the fire. She tests you with chaos to see if you're chaos yourself. When she screams, you stay still. When she cries for drama, you offer silence. Because reaction is a confession. It says, you got me, you rattled me, you're in control. Nietzsche taught that stillness is godlike. Emotionally reactive men betray their weakness every time they argue out of fear, ego, or insecurity. She doesn't need more words from you. She needs to feel your presence, your groundedness when the world spins. Let her shout, let her rage. You stay unmoved, not because you're passive, but because you're composed enough to know silence breaks louder than any scream. Rule number 3, own your shadow or be destroyed by it. You can fake confidence, you can flex, pose, posture, but the moment she sees your unhealed wounds, your hidden guilt, your buried shame, she'll test it, not to destroy you, but to see if she can. Because deep down, women aren't looking for perfect men. They're looking for strong ones, and strength doesn't come from pretending darkness doesn't exist. It comes from walking into it and surviving. Nietzsche embraced the shadow. He understood that only the man who confronts his pain becomes powerful. If you hide from your weakness, she'll use it. If you've already faced it, she has nothing to hold over you. You've bled before. You didn't die. Now, you wear your scars like armor. Rule number 4, compete with your past, not for her attention. Every time you try to prove your worth to her, you lower it. Trying to be funnier, richer, more exciting than the next guy, she sees through it. And worse, she loses respect for it. Nietzsche knew that real masculinity isn't loud. It's evolving. The real flex isn't being better than other men. It's being better than the man you were last month, Let the other guys flex watches, you sharpen your mind. Let them post thirst traps, you build empires in silence. When you walk like a man on a mission, you don't chase the spotlight. You become it. And suddenly, you're the one they all start chasing. Rule number 5, be dangerous, but in control. Most men are either too soft or too unstable, too afraid to show strength or too eager to fake it. Nietzsche didn't respect either. He respected the man who could destroy, but chose not to. Because that's where real fear lives. Not in the roar, but in the silence behind the smile. Not in the man who boasts about his power, but in the man who never has to. She doesn't want a doormat. She doesn't want a bully. She wants a storm that knows when to stay still. And when she senses that quiet fire inside you, that potential for chaos held together by discipline, she won't just respect you. She'll feel drawn to you in a way she can't explain. You're not the nice guy. You're not the jerk. You're the man who walks with a blade no one can see, and the wisdom never to draw it. Rule number 6, stop explaining yourself. Power doesn't apologize. Most men explain too much. They talk themselves into weakness, into doubt, into irrelevance, and they don't even realize it. Nietzsche saw this clearly. Explanation is often just disguised insecurity. It says, please see me, please understand, please don't leave. But real power doesn't plead for understanding. It doesn't narrate itself. It simply moves, with certainty, with silence. She asks, why didn't you text me back? You say, I had things to do. Not cold, just clear. No backstory, no self-defense. Let her wonder. Let her sit with your silence. Let her imagination work for you. The man who explains everything is broadcasting anxiety. The man who doesn't? He's signaling one thing: I'm the one who chooses, not you. You don't need to be understood. You need to be respected. And the more mysterious your actions, the louder your presence becomes. Rule number 7, never chase. Let her obsess. To chase her is to place her above your purpose. To pursue is to surrender control. Nietzsche believed the greatest mistake a man makes is to make a woman his mission. Because once you do that, your strength bends toward her, and she feels it. The more you seek her, the less she feels your value. The more you lean in, the more she leans away. But when you remain still, focused, grounded in your goals, your world, your path, she senses something strange. You don't need her to feel like a man. And that's when obsession begins. She asks herself, why doesn't he chase me? Why is he so composed? What makes him so different? Because while the others are chasing her, you're chasing purpose. And that energy, it's rare, magnetic, unexplainable. A woman doesn't fall in love with desperation. She falls into gravity. And you become the gravitational force when you stop chasing. Rule number 8, she can test you, but you can't break. All women test, not because they're manipulative, but because they're instinctively wired to. It's not personal, it's psychological. She wants to feel your depth. She wants to know if your calm is real or just another mask. So she pokes. She throws chaos. She questions your value. Why do you think you're so special? I bet other girls wouldn't put up with that. You're not as confident as you pretend to be. Most men collapse. They argue, defend, prove. But Nietzsche taught the opposite. A man doesn't react. He reveals. And when she tests you, you don't push back. You stand still. You let her emotional storm pass while you remain unmoved. She expects you to chase. You walk away. She expects you to explain. You say nothing. And suddenly, she sees something real. A man who cannot be broken. A man who has nothing to prove. That man, He earns more than her attraction. He earns her respect, her fear, her loyalty. Rule number 9. Choose respect over affection. Most men chase affection because they never had true respect. They think love is the goal. But love without respect is a trap. It's affection that can vanish the second you stop pleasing her. Nietzsche never cared about being liked. He cared about being remembered, and there's a reason for that. Respect changes how she speaks to you, how she argues with you, how she behaves in your presence. She might like a dozen men, but she only respects one, and that one man sets the standard. When you chase affection, you make her emotions your god. But when you demand respect, she sees you as something greater, a man who doesn't bend to please, but leads with presence. A woman can sleep with you and still laugh behind your back, but she cannot laugh at a man she respects. So ask yourself, does she admire your strength or just enjoy your comfort? One disappears, the other leaves an imprint that lingers for life. Rule number 10. Use silence as a weapon. The loudest man in the room is almost always the weakest, because real power doesn't yell, it waits. Nietzsche understood the terrifying weight of silence. He knew that in a world of noise, stillness becomes power. When she pushes for answers, attention, drama, don't give it. Give her nothing. Let her feel the vacuum. Silence creates pressure. It creates space for reflection, insecurity, and wonder. When she speaks recklessly, don't rush to correct her. Let the silence hang. Let her sit in her own energy. She'll start to ask herself, did I go too far? Why isn't he reacting? Is he pulling away? Yes, he is. Because silence is not passivity. It's punishment. You don't break the frame with force. You collapse it by removing your energy completely. And the moment she feels your absence, that's when your value spikes. She'll beg for words. But all she gets is your calm. That's not cruelty. That's control. Rule number 11. Stay grounded in truth, not her emotions. Nietzsche believed in objective truth, unshakable, unbending. But most men today drown in emotional seas they didn't create. You speak the truth. She says you're selfish. You hold boundaries. She calls you cold. You walk away from disrespect. She says you don't care. And because you don't want to lose her, you begin bending. You start doubting what you know is right. Stop. Her emotions are real, but they aren't always truth. Feelings are fleeting. Truth is fixed. She might say you're cruel in one moment and kiss you the next. She might cry not because you hurt her, but because you didn't fold. If you take every wave as gospel, you'll be swept away in someone else's storm. Nietzsche held the line. He refused to dilute his values for comfort or connection. Be that man. Be the mountain. Her emotions may move around you, but they should never move through you. Rule number 12. Don't enter her world. Invite her into yours. Most men leave their purpose at the door the moment she smiles. They stop building, stop creating, start chasing her schedule, her vibe, her reality. But Nietzsche's man, he's a creator, not a follower. You don't twist to fit into her life. You stand firm in your vision and let her align with it. That doesn't mean control. It means clarity. You have your routine, your principles, your mission, and anyone who enters your space must respect the gravity of it. Too many men get lost trying to make it work. They adjust everything to stay in her frame. They abandon the very foundation that attracted her in the first place, direction. And then she pulls back, because you stopped being the man she admired. You became what she could mold. Never sacrifice your world to live in hers. Build your kingdom. Let her walk through your gates. Rule number 13, always be willing to walk away. This is where weak men fail. They talk power, but when it's time to walk, they beg. Nietzsche didn't fear solitude, he craved it. Because a man who fears being alone is a man who will sell his soul to be kept. Women sense this. When they feel your dependence, they test you harder, push you further. Because if you won't leave, you'll eventually bow. Power begins when your attachment ends. You don't threaten to leave, you're just ready if the line is crossed. She pulls away, you don't panic. She disrespects you, you don't justify it. You simply exit, without rage, without debate. And here's the paradox. The moment she knows you can walk, she starts chasing what she once took for granted. The man who can walk away at any time is the one no one dares to play with. Rule number 14, don't try to change her. Observe her. Most men date potential. They ignore the reality in front of them because they're hooked on what could be. But Nietzsche taught clarity over fantasy. See her, don't sculpt her. If she lies early, she'll lie later. If she disrespects you when you're strong, she'll tear you apart when you're vulnerable. If her values clash with yours, believe them. Don't debate them. You don't need to argue. You don't need to convince. You don't even need closure. All you need is observation. Patterns matter more than promises. Behavior matters more than beauty. And if her actions show you she's unstable, disloyal, dramatic, you don't fix it, you leave it. Because the man who wastes time reshaping her ends up erasing himself. Let her reveal herself. Then decide, does this align with your world? If not, you don't change her. You change your direction. Rule number 15, transcend pleasure or be ruled by it. And this is the final trap, and it's the one most men never escape. Sex, beauty, flattery, validation, soft words, warm nights. These aren't bad, but when they become the goal, you lose the war before it starts. Nietzsche believed the higher man must rise above temptation, not to deny it, but to master it. When your desire for pleasure is stronger than your mission, she owns you. You'll chase. You'll fold. You'll say yes when you should say nothing at all. She'll offer you a moment, but you'll trade your identity for it. And the worst part? She'll know. She'll know she controls you with a glance, a touch, a tease. And once she knows that, you become disposable. But the man who can feel temptation and still stay focused, that man scares her, because he doesn't need her. He chooses, and that choice is more powerful than any hunger. He can enjoy, but he never submits, and that makes him untouchable. Rule number 16, she's not the prize, you are. The moment you put her on a pedestal, you lower yourself. You start behaving like a contestant, not a king. And once she senses you've placed her above your own value, she tests, harder, more often, with sharper blades. Nietzsche never believed in chasing illusions. He believed in becoming something worthy, not in begging to be chosen. He taught, stop measuring yourself by who loves you. Start becoming the man who doesn't need to be loved to know his worth. She's beautiful. So what? Beauty is everywhere. But power, discipline, unshakable presence, that's rare. When you walk, speak, and move like the prize, you stop competing for attention. You make attention compete for you. She's not the goal. You are. And when she senses that shift, everything changes. You don't need to prove. You are the proof. Rule number 17. Let her test you. Then pass without reacting. Most men see a test and panic. They think she's being cruel, unfair, emotional, but Nietzsche knew better. He knew that behind every test is a question. Are you who you say you are? She'll accuse you, doubt you, say things that cut just to see if you bleed. She wants to see if your confidence is surface level or soul deep. And every time you over-explain, defend, or get triggered, you fail. But when you don't flinch, when you pass her tests with calm presence and a quiet smile, she feels something ancient. Respect, security, desire. Because you're no longer a boy trying to be liked. You're a man who has nothing to prove. Let her test you. Let her throw fire. You walk through it without blinking. That's how you win. Not with reaction, but with stillness. Rule number 18. Never fear being alone. This is where most men fall. They don't stay in toxic situations because they're blind. They stay because they're afraid. Afraid of silence, afraid of themselves, afraid of loneliness. Nietzsche saw solitude not as punishment, but as purification. Because the man who can sit in his own presence and not break is the man who can't be broken by anyone else. You fear losing her. That means she owns you. You fear walking away. That means you've already surrendered power. But when you embrace being alone, when you welcome it as a forge for discipline, creation, strength, you stop negotiating your standards just to avoid the silence. Be the man who sleeps well, even after walking away. Not because you didn't care, but because you never lost yourself to care. Rule 19. Control the frame, or be controlled by it. In every relationship, there's a frame, and someone owns it. The frame is the unspoken ground rules. Who reacts, who leads, who follows, who sets the tone, and who adjusts to it. Most men don't even know they've given theirs up. They start chasing, explaining, apologizing for things they didn't even do. All just to keep the peace, all just to make it work. But Nietzsche's man doesn't negotiate his frame. He defines it, then watches who fits. If she tries to control your mood, your time, your mission, you don't argue, you withdraw. Not in weakness, but in principle. You don't fight to keep the frame. You enforce it by being willing to lose her before you lose yourself. The man who controls the frame doesn't control through force. He controls through presence, through values, through unshakable standards. You are the container. She either flows within it or spills out. Rule number 20. Don't compete for power, embody it. My size, this is the end game, not reaction, not tactics, not seduction, just pure embodied presence. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch wasn't some fantasy alpha male. It was the evolved man, one who transcends weakness, codependence, and victimhood. Most men are chasing power like a trophy, trying to look confident, trying to sound strong, trying to play a role. But the man who embodies power doesn't try. He is. He doesn't posture. He doesn't chase recognition. He radiates energy because he's forged himself from fire. His values aren't flexible. His time isn't cheap. His emotions aren't dictated by others. He's dangerous because he doesn't care if you misunderstand him. He's powerful because he doesn't need you to agree. He's free because he doesn't fear being alone. That man doesn't need to fight for power because power follows him. He doesn't demand the crown. He becomes it. So now you've seen them, Nietzsche's 20 ruthless rules. Not for control, not for revenge, but for freedom. If you've been manipulated, if you've been discarded, if you've lost yourself trying to be enough, then these rules weren't just meant for you. They were meant to wake you up. The game is rigged against the unaware, but once you master yourself, no one can master you. You don't have to hate women, you just have to stop handing away your power. So follow these rules, break the weak version of yourself, and rebuild the man no one dares to test again. And if this video hit you deep, if it helped you see clearly, share it with your brothers, your friends, your sons, your past self. Because there are men out there right now bleeding silently, and this may be the one video that stops it.